Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Leveguirre. I'm part of the Dr. Spotfire program team, along with Neil Canungo and Suera Kara. Today, I will be hosting Senior Customer Success Engineer Tejas Devatkar here from TIPCO as well, who will be talking about co-branding in TIPCO Spotfire 11. Tejas, do you want to say hi to our audience?
Yep. Hi, everybody. So, my name is Tejas, and I work as a senior customer success engineer with TIPCO, and I've been working with Spotfire for a couple of years now. And today we'll be diving deep into the co-branding in TIPCO Spotfire and how we can white label Spotfire to our company signatures and standards.
Perfect, Tejas. Well, just as a reminder, Dr. Spotfire series are held on the first Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Let's go to the next slide. Just remember that our Spotfire motto is learning is not driven by answers, but by questions. In other words, learning is driven by questions. So keep the questions going on the chat, and we will be doing our best to answer them. If we cannot respond to questions right away during this live session, just keep the questions going, and we will respond them through our different channels via YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe or watch previous Dr. Spotfire sessions on our YouTube channel. This session is live, but will be available online to rewatch later on YouTube. So please keep, again, the questions coming during or even after this session. We also have a TIPCO Data Science channel. This is also held once a month. It happens the third Wednesday of every month. I will be posting these links on the chat, and if not, just search for Dr. Data Science on TIPCO on YouTube. And this channel is targeted for the aspiring or professional data scientists, covering a wide range of topics such as machine learning, anomaly detection, composing music with AIs, or sessions that we covered previously, machine learning environments, deep learning, and other exciting topics. So check out the Dr. Science on our TIPCO community pages for a full list of topics. So let's go ahead and start our session with Tejas on co-branding. Tejas will be talking about how you can customize the look and feel of TIPCO Spotfire with your company logos, with your profile, look and feel, so you can rebrand or white label TIPCO Spotfire, not only the client, but also the web player instances, as well as the server administration interface, by replacing the product name, logo, and similar resources. You can also change the help and support menu items under the help menu, so it looks and feel more as something of your own. Something new with co-branding is that you can also customize the landing page and add a custom login page for the Spotfire server web interface. So Tejas, with no further introduction, it's all yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Jose. So, as Jose mentioned, we'll be diving into this PPT now for a high level understanding of what co-branding is. So co-branding is a pretty old feature which Spotfire provides, but in the recent years, with the launch of Spotfire 10 and Spotfire 11, we have added quite cool new features which are very good to have, such as changing the landing pages and the custom login pages with a new way of doing it. So those are some pretty cool features which we thought of presenting. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So the agenda for today is what exactly is co-branding, what are its use cases, how do customers implement it. We'll see a short demo and then we'll take some questions. So introduction to co-branding. So Spotfire has the ability to customize the a product in multiple ways, from its custom extensions to the different co-branding packages and to multiple other things. But what co-branding is all about is to white label the product to your company styles and signatures. So it can be applied throughout the entire product, from the thick clients to the thin clients, as well as to the server components, to the server web UI components. So this comes in handy when you want to just replace the TIPCO brandings with your brandings, or have some links or some areas of the product pointing uh, to your company areas or your company support portals, etc. So these are some of the use cases. As you can replace the TIPCO banners, the TIPCO product name, the Spotfire name, the some support information if you have your in-house support for Spotfire or some related things. You can also change the landing pages, and the you can have a custom login page with your standards apart from other default login pages. You can do a lot more things like customizing the toolbar shortcuts, adding some custom headers, which is pretty cool.
So Tejas, I know we covered uh, a topic a few years
Yeah,
back on
yeah,
rebranding, but this is all new and this is has
yep,
more features that you're gonna compare, right? What's
yeah,
new?
yeah. Yes, perfect. So as we can see, customizing the toolbar shortcuts, customizing the login page, customizing the landing page are some of the new features which have been added lately in Perfect 10 and 11, which you'll be seeing specifically. So up with in terms of the implementation of this, we have a pretty detailed document which is pretty straightforward and easy to understand, which we'll be following now. And there are standard files which we need to edit and place the required images and the HTML files in specific folder structure and then deploy it to the server. So these are the steps which we'll see. Yeah, so let's dive into the demo.
Okay, so basically, before we dive into the demo, is the configuration is pretty simple. You go through some changes in some text files, configuration files, and then you create a package that you can later either give it to the admin or and the admin or the person in charge or you that
Yeah,
same person can deploy that package in the Spotfire server and that's it. It's just a package, right?
yep, yes, yes, perfect. For that, we'll also see how to deploy a package using a package builder, which is a tool, and how do we build that package in steps which Spotify can detect the co-branding. Okay, so I will be
Excellent.
diving into the demo.
Yes, excellent. Enough for
Yeah,
from boring slide
yeah,
presentations.
yep.
Let's go dive to the
Okay,
directly to the demo.
yes. So this is the TIPCO Spotfire co-branding, which is the document for this thing. It is a pretty explanatory, self-explanatory doc, which is quite easy to understand. And so the first thing you can see is creating a Cobranding.config file. So this is a template which is already provided. So you need to copy paste this entire file in and create a file called Cobranding.config, which is an XML file. And then we need to do a lot of editing into this file with respective areas that we want to co-brand. So I have this file already into my notepad, which is XML file, and we need to make changes to this file and then also add links to or the folder paths to to the images that we are going to use and to the different HTMLs and the CSS files which we need for our custom login pages and custom headers, etc. So if you can see, this file has a pretty lot of comments which say what each tag means. So if you can understand from this tag the product name, so it's pretty explanatory that if I add any of different product name over here, like your company name or anything else, this will replace the area where the tool shows TIPCO Spotfire with your name which has been added to this. So like this, there are multiple other tags like the product name in the web. So this is pretty explanatory that this will take place or this will have effect in the web player. These are some of the things, like I have added an image over here which will be the banner, and then there are certain things mentioned like the size of the image should be, the height and the width should be this much. Like it is mentioned that it should be 700 pixels into 57, or the maximum or the minimum sizes should be as mentioned. So these are some of the things which we need to take care of. On the extension of the files should be PNG and not any other like JPG or JPEG, but it should only be PNG which Spotify accepts. So this is how we will go through editing this document. I will just take you through the documentation again. And the first thing which you can see is replacing the product name in TIBCO Spotfire Analyst. So as you can see, this will be the name which will be replaced with your name, the sample product name, which is a red line. And for this, the document says that you need to edit the product name tag in the XML file with your name. But just we need to make sure that these tags are correct and there are no syntactical errors so that Spotify can detect those. So the second thing is we can also replace the banner. What the banner means is this particular image which we see when we launch Spotfire. So if I launch Spotfire, this is the typical Spotfire thing which we see, which can be replaced with your particular image. So this is basically an image file which will give the part to in our XML, and with the respective sizes which are mentioned in the documentation. And we just need to make sure that we don't exceed or these sizes, because the images will be cropped, and this should be .png files and no other than PNG. The Spotify cannot detect any other file types. So these are some of the things. Then we can replace the images into the login site image, which is the blocks which we can see to the right. These can also be changed in the newer versions now. And then pretty smaller things like we can also change this entire landing page when we launch the Spotfire, or the landing page when we open any new, or we're trying to build a new analysis. We can provide our own links and buttons to different areas where you want to point your company users to, if not the standard ones which are provided by TIBCO. These are the areas, and then some pretty cool areas like we can also have custom login pages for the product. So for that, what I mean is that when I launch the Spotfire Server URL, we see the standard page. This can also be customized for different use cases. You can have your terms and conditions, checkboxes, or remember passwords, etc., or whatever you need to do, except for this default page. So these can also be done with the co-branding packages. So one last thing is that we can also change the about information in the help menus also for the web players, and provide the URLs to your required websites or portals. So this doc is pretty explanatory, which needs to be followed one by one with the areas you want to co-brand. So let's dive into how do we exactly do this. So this is the
There's a question from one of the audience. It says, can I co-brand my Spotfire Analyst alone, installing my machine, or it should be done in the Spotfire server and deploy across all users?
Yes, you can. No, you just can't do the branding for yourself, but rather it can be limited to the analyst client or the web client in the package builder, but then it will take effect at the group level in which you are present, and the deployment areas that you're connecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Cobranding.config file, which is XML file. I have just added a few images. Like I have just kept this as a sample product name. I have added a banner.png, which is a file. Then I have just added some Wikipedia links to show you. We just need to make sure that these tags are correct and not somewhere syntactically wrong. Otherwise, the server will at times go down and give you an errors when it can't detect the packages correctly. Then I've added some community links, and okay. So if I can show you, this is the folder called Cobrand, which I have created, and we just need to make sure that we place all the files in a single folder, and not keep it segregated in different folders. That's a thing to keep in mind, that we need to place all the files in a single folder. So now we are visiting this Cobrand.config file, which is the main file, which is referring to all the other files. So as you can see, I have this image called banner, which is a standard Google image from the web, which I've downloaded. I have just resized it to the requirements that TIBCO Spotfire needs from the documentation, and then multiple other images which we'll use for co-branding. One important thing is that for the landing page, if you see the landing page has a different HTML. So this is HTML template which you can take as it is and replace it with your CSS and different links and images. So this will take effect when we launch the Spotfire and we see the landing page when we try to build any analysis. So this is an basic HTML template which I have taken as it is and replaced it with my requirements. So
So
I
I can
just
go beyond doing that because I have the full flexibility of changing the
yes,
HTML page with
yes.
putting backgrounds and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. So you can actually say, but just you need to be careful because the areas that are blocked for that particular product UI, and how do you fit your content into that UI? So for example, I have made changes to this standard file, uh, and added some random text over here and links to my images and to the different websites. So this is one of the files which needs to be edited. And then for the custom login page, which is for the web UI, you need to have your CSS and HTMLs which can be built as per your requirements. These templates are also present into the documentation. So if I have to show you, if you go to the replacing the default login page in the Spotify web UI, these has the HTMLs, the CSS, and the JavaScript files. So this JavaScript file is a major file which glues all the HTML DOMs, and these are the Spotify JavaScript APIs, which is pretty easy because this is vanilla JavaScript and no other frameworks are necessary for the users, but this is plain JavaScript which glues your HTMLs and CSS, and which will be used to perform the logins to the Spotfire server. So these are the files which I've taken as it is for this demo, but this can be changed as per your requirements. And I've just placed all the files in my local uh, directory into a single folder. So we'll just try to build this package now. So what I'll do is, the second step is, once you have the folders ready with all the images, with the sizes and all the HTMLs and all the CSS files which are required as per the document, you just place them together. And the second step is you need to build this package. So for that
Okay.
we need, yeah.
One question, Tejas. So it doesn't matter what folder you put all these bundles, because I suppose with the package builder you're gonna tell where that folder is located, right?
Yes, we'll provide the path to the folder.
Okay. Another important
Yeah.
things to consider is to have this when you're deploying or doing anything on the server. Start with the development server to avoid
Yeah.
any issues.
Yes, and one important thing to keep in mind is that the co-branding package, it needs to be deployed to the default deployment area. This sentence should be mentioned somewhere, but that's a thing to keep in mind, that we need to deploy to the default deployment area.
Okay,
And
but we can change deployment areas and then have different co-brandings for different deployment areas. So that was one of the questions, and there's another question related to that that says, for big organizations, this co-branding might be needed at a specific department level. Can this be done for specific folder web play reports, something like a template specific to a particular department? So I guess the answer is no and yes. No, because
no,
I don't think you can apply co-branding on each folder, but you can certainly have different deployment areas if that's the
yes,
case, where I can have that package of the co-branding, and then you can select the different departments, assign those people from that department into that specific
yeah.
co-branding.
Yeah. So if a service configured at a very complex level where you have different sites, etc., then you can play around with the deployment areas as per the needs. But if you see the document, it is mentioned that the co-branding package must be deployed on the default deployment area. And then what to do next? That we need to make sure that the end users accepts the update if it's not deployed to the default deployment area, or else they won't see the changes. And then some other minute things which this uh, end tab of creating and deploying a co-branding package has the steps on how do we build this package. So now we'll follow these steps over here and we'll try to build this package. So I hope we are clear with the folder structures on how we have it. And now we'll just go ahead and try to build. For this, we need to download the Spotfire
SDK.
yeah, the Spotfire developer software, which is present into the e-delivery when you go to the typical Spotfire server download. There's there's a there's a file called typical Spotfire dev.zip win.zip. You need to download that, which has the SDK folder into it. So
So one question:
once
when you download the SDK folder, is that the executable that you have to install in your machine, or just are the couple of files that you can run later when creating binary files?
no, we don't have to install anything specifically.
Just download the file and
Yes,
then
yes, just download and unzip it, which has all these folders into it. It also has the binaries for it, specific to your. But just make sure that we need to download the SDK or the developer software specific to the Spotify versions that the customers use, and not if there's a mismatch, there are at times certain errors thrown. But it's good to have the same SDK as per the Spotify version.
okay.
Yeah. So now we'll go into this SDK folder. This SDK folder has a package folder called package builder. So this is the tool. This is a exe file which we'll launch, and we'll be using this to deploy our Cobrand package, which we'll create. So what I'll do is, so as you can see, this is pretty standard Spotfire now, and we'll just try to build this now. So I'll just right click and run it as a admin. Maybe that's fine. You can do it anyhow. Uh, okay, we'll wait for it to launch. Okay, so this is launched now. So I'll just do one thing. I'll remove this so that you understand how do we use this tool. This is done by me previously. I'll just remove. Uh, so the first step which you need to do is you need to create a Spotfire distribution. When you create on manage, you can add manage configurations and say okay. And the next step is you go to the files and you do add typical Spotfire distribution. When you click here, it 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 opens the Windows Explorer, and what you can do is you need to provide the path. You need to provide the path to the Spotfire Analyst modules folder. So if I say I am using a portable over here, so I will just go into the portable, and I will just provide the path to the modules folder over here, and I'll select the folder. So we need this because then the package builder understands that what is the version which we are using, and where do we need to and what are the binaries, because we can do a lot more things from here, which I'll show you on the go. But I've added this path, which you can see, which is a path to the modules folder of my Spotfire Analyst. So you can see this path over here. So once we have added this path over here, we can just say validate area. So this will, if there are any errors, it will show if there's an error, or else it shows a configuration is valid. So this is the first step. So I've added the path to the modules folder. So then our next step is to add the paths to our co-branding folder. So the steps on the go is to, for this specific use case, is that just uncheck the source code folder, click on browse, go to the co-brand folder, and say select folder.
So
So
that's the
this,
folder that you created with changes on the configuration and has all the images and whatnot, right?
yes, perfect, correct. Yeah. So now I'll click on next. Then we need to create a module.xml, because there's no any, this is the first time which you're building the package, there's no module XML. So let's keep it as it is. We'll click on next. So now this shows all the files which are in the folder, which we have added to. We just need to make sure we check all of these, which we'll be using.
So maybe you might have a duplicate image, or you want to test with different images, then you can leave that unchecked if you don't want to use that.
Yes, correct. But just there's one major thing to remember over here is, you can see in the document, is that we need to click on the Cobrand.config file and add a public resource name, which is this thing. I'll just copy this name. I'll go to the package builder. I will search for the file, which is this. I just click on this and I add a public resource name. Please remember, if you don't add this particular text over here, Spotify cannot recognize this file, which is very important, and where customers at times go wrong when they don't see that changes. This is
That's
one
good to
thing to
know.
remember. Yeah. and then just check all the files which you are using. Even if you check certain unused files, those won't take effect because those are not referenced into your XMLs and HTMLs anyway. We'll click next. We'll just name this something to co-brand. That's it. And this is the important thing, that where do you want to deploy the changes. This can be to just your web client or just the install client or any client. So we'll select any client which will be applicable for the web as well as the installed clients. So we'll select any clients over here. We'll click finish, and just we'll try to validate again if it gives any error. So it says configuration is valid. So what I'll do is I'll just run this configuration. So when you run this configuration, you haven't yet deployed to the server, but you can just do some random testings over here. When I click on run, it will just pull up my analyst based on the modules folder path which we have given and the installed folder. So you can see the changes are reflecting over here. I've added a different tree image to the right, and the co-branding to the Google from TIPCO Spotfire. It shows simple product name, sample product name. If I just try to log in to my server, uh, and I click on login, maybe this won't show you the changes, but let's try to log in once, and then we'll go to the deployment of to the server. So in the meantime, I can just try to deploy my package from here. So you need to click on deploy to the server. When you click on deploy to the server, you will get a UI which asks you for the username, password, the server URL, and the deployment area. So I just have one deployment area, which is production, which is the default. I'll click OK. And when I
So,
click OK,
mhm.
yeah,
So
when I
basically, what you're doing is creating this package or compiling that package and using that same package builder to deploy it to the server, because you can also
yes,
have that package deployed with the web interface on the
yes,
admin interface.
yes, that's correct. So you can do it from here, or you can just close this. You can click here on the co-brand thing, right click here, and you can do a build package file. This will create a SPK which the admin can then go to the deployment and packages on the server and deploy it through the normal process of deployment.
Right. So
You
if
can
you
also
have
do this,
multiple
but yeah,
Spotfire servers, instead of going one by
yeah,
one, you just,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you can see in the back, we had done a run configuration in the previous step. You can see this UI has totally changed now. There are different buttons which I have added over here, which takes you to different links on the web. And then you can add certain important material which you need, which can be any study material or links to your companies, etc. If you go to the help, you can see it is a sample about TIPCO. You can see the branding is totally changed with the Wikipedia links over here, which I've added for testing. This area has totally changed. Then you can also see in the help menu, it is the support links have changed over here, and it shows a different, and it goes to Wikipedia again and not to some TIPCO portal. So this is how it takes effect on the thick client. But now we'll see what happens when we deploy the last step. I'll just quickly deploy it.
So while that's deploying, the background image that you have on the back is basically the HTML file that you configured, where you can
Yes,
change the background, add
yes,
buttons, or whatever you might be.
yeah. So yeah, that's right. So this is this landing page.html, which I have added the links to this forest image over here and the other things. uh, I'll just again click on update, which will give me the deployment area. I'll click OK.
So it's very important to choose the production deployment area, right?
Yeah, yes. The document says it should be to the default, so that the users, whenever they automatically connect to the server, they can see the changes. Or else you need to take care based on the deployment areas the users are connecting.
Okay.
Yeah, so these steps are mentioned pretty clear over here. This will take a moment now to deploy, and then we'll pull up the server.
Okay. So basically, you can have multiple packages or themes and then deploy them into different deployment areas. So each organization that is assigned to that deployment area can have different look and feel experience.
Yeah. I haven't tried any time with multiple co-branding packages, but yeah, that's a thing which can be done.
Yeah.
Okay, so the configuration is successfully deployed. So we'll just try to pull up the server. So I'll just copy,
So
load
there's
this.
no need to restart the server or anything like that, right?
No, there's no need. So
Perfect.
yes, so if you can see the UI, the login page has totally changed now as per our files and the HTML, CSS which you have added. This is a pretty basic page, which is the default. If you see it, it has accept terms and services, which at times customers request that we need to have a terms and services when the users logs in on, and you can have multiple other things on this page, whatever you need. Just these are some JavaScript APIs which are gluing this to the backend of, and then try to authenticate the users to the server. So these APIs are pretty important over here, which this file contains HTML templates. If you want in detail, there's also some things mentioned about the login page APIs. So these are the APIs which are used to do the authentication to the server. I'll just click on accept. I'll try to log in. So this is, we have logged in, and this is the co-branding which has taken place. This is the about this name has been changed. So you can see, if I try to, the one major thing to now, next thing is to take care is to update the services. So so now I'll need to go to nodes and services over here. I'll click on the node managers. I'll click on the web player. You can see we have deployed a packages which is this, and we need to update this service now. I'll update this service. This is an important thing, that at times customers deploy the packages, but they say that the web player doesn't show the changes. The step they miss is that they don't apply the updates to the services. So we just need to make sure we apply the services, the updates, and then we'll try to launch Spotfire and see the final changes.
Okay, so for the login page, while this
Mhm.
synchronization happens, because I suppose that this happens in order to replicate that those changes across all different nodes. If I have multiple nodes, it will push those changes on the different nodes on the web player.
Yeah, yeah.
And for the login page, sometimes customers want to have their own authentication method, not necessarily Spotfire. It's something to remember. The co-branding package will still go through the default authentication method for Spotfire. The only thing is changing is the login, the username and password, the login page, but with a different theme or different layout, if
Yes.
you will.
Yeah.
If you want to have a different authentication process, that's a different step, but it's still
Exactly.
covering on the documentation.
Yeah, yeah. So at times customers have web authentications at their end, or they have their other own identity providers, etc., where they need to provide their own buttons. They can use this feature, or if they simply want to change the signature page, they can use. But for very other different type of authentications like LDAP, etc., where we still pass in the username, passwords, we can use this page. So so these things are mentioned over here, where uh, as you can see, can be used for username, password, or any web authentication for different providers, etc. We can use this feature. So this, okay, so this service has been updated now. We just try to pull in TIBCO Spotfire. So this is 11.8 version, hence you can see some UI changes here and there, which has been done recently. If I pull up the analyst, you can see these changes have taken place over here. And this is the custom header which we have added, which is a test custom header. So if you want, you can also add this. Then these are the same changes. There is some alignment problem over here, but that can be figured out by the customers themselves. And yeah, the rest all things remain the same. If you go to the help, etc., these the same changes have been taken place over here, which has taken place in the analyst. So this is how, so the next time the users launch the Spotfire analyst, they'll get an and then connect to the deployment area where you have deployed the package. They'll get an update. They'll get a step where they need which will prompt for an update, and when they click yes, the analyst will take effect. And there's no need to restart the servers or anything else, but we need to make sure that we update the services.
Okay, so there's a question around that just pop up. It says, on a note that service restart doesn't need it, when we update the services after deployment, services actually get restarted. Is that right?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
So when you remember, there is a step when you go to the admin, exactly that right there, and you restart the those, it will those services on those nodes are going to actually get restarted, right?
No, the Windows services are not restarted. Just this service, this web player service is restarted, and then you need to again make sure that the deployment area where this web player service is connecting to is important. So assume you have multiple deployment areas, and if I click on edit over here, and this web player doesn't use your deployment area where you have deployed the packages and some other deployment areas, so obviously there won't be a tab to update the service technically.
So it has to be consistent on which deployment area you are.
Exactly, and the services needs to be connected to those deployment areas. So then you will get a prompt to update the service because it will identify some new package has been deployed. So that's a step to keep in mind. And yeah, so the last thing which I want to say is about troubleshooting or issues is that the first very important thing is that we need to use PNG formats. We need to make sure that the sizes of the images are as per the documented text. The second is that we need to place all the files correctly without any syntactical errors into the folder. And the last important step is that when we build the package, we need to provide the resource name, which I just showed you over here. And for the Linux users, I guess there's one thing to keep in mind is that on the last tab, you need to download a specific software for the Linux users. Okay, so it's yours. So if you say for co-branding to work on the Linux system, cab extract must be installed. So I haven't done this anytime, but for the if there are any Linux users, just make sure that you do this step, and the rest all is same. For the Linux users, there's no this UI tool like the package builder, but these same things can be done through the command lines also, which for the Linux users can come in handy. But fundamentally the steps are pretty same. Yeah, that's it from my end, Jose.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tejas, for great presentations. I will leave the session open for a little bit more to see if there are any additional questions.
Yep.
But a great presentation, Tejas. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so there's someone, Marcus Oliver is saying that it restarted the services. So maybe that's something to look at when you yeah.
Okay.
So that means that the service it won't be available for just a brief moment of time because it needs to be restarted. All right. Well, with no further questions, thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and we'll see you on the next session.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.